Well, activity number 1 is called Glowing Results. And the purpose of this activity is to show students that different behaviors put them at greater risk for picking up different germs that are spread either through contact or through droplet transmission. So before the students come in, there's a little bit of preparation that you have to do. First thing you have to do is set up 5 different stations. And in the Germs Away binder, you get the 5 question sheets. So we need to set these up, giving a little bit of space between questions. And you also need 5 yes pump bottles and 5 no pump bottles. And these can be found at a dollar store somewhere. You want them to hold about 100 milliliters each and fill them with the appropriate lotion. And put yes on 5 of them and put the yes bottles in front of the yes marker, and no on 5 of them and put those in front of the no marker. And then you're ready for the students to come in. So you would explain the activity to the students, that you're going to be seeing whether they put themselves at risk for picking up germs through 5 fairly general activities. And then give each student a little disposable cup. And the students will come from station to station and read the question. So for example, question number 1 says, in the last 7 days, have you used a computer that's shared by other people? So they think back in the last 7 days. If the answer to that question for them is yes, they take 1 pump from the yes bottle. If the answer is no, they take 1 from the no bottle. And it just has to be 1 pump, they don't have to fill up their cup. Then they move on to station number 2. So that by the end of moving through the stations, each student will have 5 pumps of white cream in their cup. Then you ask them to go back to their desk, to take their finger, mix the cream around so it's all nicely mixed in there, and pull out enough of it so that they can spread it around on their hands. Now, some people in grade 4 to 6 have got pretty small hands, so if they used all the lotion that's in their cup, it's going to take them quite a while to have it soak in, so they just need enough to cover their hands. And then you would go about doing other activities in the class. So that's kind of the end of part 1 of this activity. Now, unknown to the students, all of the yes bottles have got a special cream in them called Glow Germ. And this comes with the kit, or you can purchase it. The Glow Germ cream, which looks like this, is a white odorless cream that you want to fill up all of your white bottles with. All of the no bottles just have plain Kerry lotion in them. And the Kerry lotion and the Glow Germ look and smell almost exactly the same, so that students can't tell which one is coming from which bottle. So whenever they have answered yes to a question, it means they've taken part in an activity that puts them at risk for picking up germs, and the Glow Germ is going to glow under a black light. The Kerry lotion doesn't glow at all. So the students have just put cream on their hands that potentially could show that they're capable of spreading germs. Now, what you would do next is get them to take part in whatever lesson plan comes next. And a few minutes later, up to an hour or 2 later, you would start talking to them about infection control. So have the students ever caught a cold before? Have they had an infection on their skin? And you can talk a bit in class about how different germs spread. So how, sometimes you cough in your hand and touch a counter or touch a doorknob, and then your neighbor comes and touches the same doorknob and picks the germs up and ends up infected with a cold or a flu or another infection. And this puts them at risk for getting sick. So you would take out your black light after you've talked a little bit about infection control and how germs spread. And turn off the lights in the class, and if possible, close the blinds in the classroom as well. And with your black light, you're going to go around and illuminate the station or the desk that the students are sitting at. So shine the black light on their hands, and any student who's answered yes, their hands are going to light up because of the glow gel. So you'll see that this is what a hand should look like with Glow Germ on it. Anywhere that the cream has touched is going to glow, so you'll see it up around the fingers and the fingernails, between the fingers, and then as we move up the arm, you can see right around the wrist that the cream isn't there anymore, so it's no longer glowing. So this is what you would expect to see on anyone who's put Glow Germ on and has wiped it around their hands. It's often important to remind students that even though this cream is not going to stain clothing, that once they have wiped any of the cream from their container onto their hands, that their hands are their own. So they should not be touching their neighbor or wiping their face. Or else they're going to glow everywhere that they've touched. Now that they've had an opportunity to sit at their desks with this cream on, they're going to end up with fingerprints on their pens, on their erasers, on their crayons, on their counter. So you can again show how the germs that were sitting on their hands have now spread to their entire station. And this shows them that you can pick up germs from all different surfaces and spread them very easily through contact, which is one of the points that we're trying to get across, that even though your hands might look very clean, by touching a lot of things, you're still picking germs up. So the next question you would ask is, now that the students know that they have germs on their hands, what can you do to prevent the spread of germs? And ideally, students will come up with the solution of hand washing. So obviously, the more often we're washing our hands, the more often we're managing to get rid of the germs that are sitting on our hands. Now, one point that's really important to make is that the Glow Germ Gel itself glows. It is not causing real germs on your hands to light up. So it's just a solution that causes fake germs to sit on the hands. So if you have some students who are noticing their hands glow more than their neighbor, it doesn't mean that their hands are any dirtier or have any less or any more germs on them that day. It just means that they had more glow germ on their hands. So an important point, that it's not the real germs that are glowing. Now, as you read through the 5 questions and go through them with your students, you'll notice that they've been set up so that it is almost impossible for someone today to get through a week without having to have answered yes to at least one of the stations. So we really are all at risk today of picking up germs in some manner. So question number 1 says, in the last 7 days, have you used a computer that's shared by other people? And we know that computers are really great areas for spreading germs, because often when we're sharing a keyboard, our hands are touching the keyboard, and then the next person that comes along is touching the same keyboard. So of course in schools where we often have computer labs or shared computers at the back of the room, you have multiple people that are sharing a keyboard. So of course it's really a high risk area for students to pick up germs. Now, we're not advocating that everyone has their own keyboard, but again, just that students start thinking that maybe after they've been in the computer lab, that they're going to want to give their hands a wash, or definitely between using a keyboard and then eating, so that those germs from the keyboard don't get into their system. Question number 2, in the last 7 days, have you borrowed a school item from a classmate? So this might be a pen or a pencil, a book, an eraser, a ruler. And as adults, we often need to stop and think about our daily activities as well. Even if we're working in a clinic and we have our own pens, often you go up to the front to use the fax and you'll use the pen that's sitting there, or you'll borrow a book from the library. So everyone really is using communal items today. And again, a lot of these things are not being washed down. So often housekeeping is coming in and washing the chair rails, they're washing handles that we touch, but very rarely are we washing our pens and pencils. So it's a really great vector for having germs spread around. So again, we're not encouraging people to scrub all these things down, but once they've used them, to recognize the importance of good hand washing. Question number 3, in the last 7 days, have you dried your hands using a towel that was used by someone else? For example, a towel in a bathroom, or a shared towel during sports. So in schools now, we have disposable towels that are sitting in washrooms. So when students have washed their hands, they take disposable paper towels, they wash their hands and use the disposable paper towel and throw them in the garbage. So the chance of sharing towels and transmitting from person to person is less. But then we go home, and most of our washrooms at home are not equipped with disposable paper towels. So we're still using towels that are sitting on a towel bar. And of course, whenever someone has washed their hands, if their hand washing wasn't ideal, then they go over and dry their hands on the towel bar, and some of those germs sit on it, and the next person comes and uses the towel and picks up those germs. So towels can be a really great space for germs to live. Now also with sports teams, sometimes you'll see a team and they'll be sharing towels, or there will be a limited number of towels for the students to be using. So one person will come off the court, be kind of sweaty, they'll wipe their face and hands with a towel and then pass it on down the line. So the germs that have come off of that person are now being spread to the next person and the next person and the next person. So again, those germs that are living on the skin or who have just ended up on the skin because they've touched something are being spread through the sports team. So this is a potential risk because you could infect everyone on your team, whether this is in gym class or organized sports. Question number 4 says, in the last 7 days, have you opened a door using a doorknob? Well, this is one that, again, very impossible for someone to get through a week without using. And doorknobs are really notorious places for germs to live because there's something that we need to touch to get in and out of rooms. So a lot of people, again, come in with dirty hands or come up in and out of a washroom or a classroom and, again, haven't washed their hands and touched the doorknob, and then the next person coming through touches it as well. So they pick up the germs that are sitting there, they have it on their body, and if they don't wash their hands, then they end up potentially getting sick from them. Question number 5 says, in the last 7 days, did you drink from someone else's cup or water bottle? Now, often as adults, we are fairly good at keeping what is ours ours. So we have our own coffee mug, we have our own water bottle that we drink from exclusively. But young kids and a lot of students right through school are very good at sharing, and sharing is very important. But there definitely are some things that we don't want to share, and germs are one of them. So it is important to be teaching our youth that when they're drinking from something, that if it's touched their lips, that it should only be theirs. Because again, if you have colds, if you have the flu, all different germs live around the mouth area. And by sharing, you're putting those germs onto the bottle. So sometimes sports bottles, if they're squeezy and they don't touch your lips, you can share them because you can squeeze into one person's mouth without touching anything and squeeze into the next person's mouth. But anytime someone is drinking from a cup where their mouth has touched it and passed on to the next person, then the germs can get back into that liquid and get passed on to the next person. So again, the risk of passing on colds and flu is higher. So now that we've talked about all 5 questions, in your classroom, you can talk with your students about ways to prevent germs from spreading in all 5 of these situations. And often in grade 4 to 6, students have got really innovative and creative ideas and start coming up with different ways that germs cannot spread. And I'm always impressed because they always come up with far more ideas than I would ever have. So the last thing we want to do is, now that the students have seen the glow germ on their hands and they know that they've put themselves at risk by taking part generally in at least one of the 5 activities, is, of course, we want to reinforce the importance of hand washing and of appropriate and good hand washing. So you would send your students to washrooms, and it's really important, of course, that the washrooms be stocked both with disposable paper towels and with soap, preferably liquid soap rather than bar soap, and send the students off to wash their hands now that they've seen the glow germ on their hands. And once they've washed their hands, they come back, and you can again pull out the black light and shine it on their hands, and all of the spots on their hands that they've missed, so often between the fingers, under the fingernails, up around the wrists, are still going to glow. And it's going to show the students areas they really need to focus a bit more with good hand washing. To wash our hands appropriately, we really should be washing with soap for about 15 to 20 seconds at least. So the amount of time it takes to sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or to sing Happy Birthday a couple times. And we want the soap to really bubble up quite well. So again, by grade 4 to 6 or ages around that, students get quite good at hand washing. So that's the last activity that you want to do.